TG Geeks, episode 85, July 11th, 2016. Busy, busy, busy. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios, Monsoony TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington. And I'm Darth Ben Raggington. And we are coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. And no, I do not have a split personality.
Yeah, and why are we saying all of that? Well, we've got two interviews for you today. One is Michael Pugliese from Neal from Occupants, the film. And we have the composer from Occupants, Vasilis Milesis. So we're going to get right to it. And this week we have with us another person from Occupants the film, Michael Pugliese, who actually plays Neal, and he's also credited with Running Tiger Films. Welcome, Michael, to the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, so we have seen Occupants like 4 or 5 times
I've lost count how many times we watched it.
Yeah, just all the various times, and we've talked to, I think you are the last person except for Robert Picardo that we've talked to everybody else. We've talked to Russ a number of times. We talked to Brianna. We talked to
Eric,
and oh my gosh, and Julia, and I mean just everybody. So
they're great people.
It's your turn.
Awesome. I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
We were hoping you'd be able to make it down to Phoenix Comic-Con, but
those things happen, you know.
Yeah, no, I tried my best, but I got caught up with a couple of things, but I heard good things.
Work is work. I mean, if you're busy, you're busy. I mean,
totally.
we get that. That's not a problem.
Totally.
Yeah. So tell us about you. How did you get into acting, and just kind of, a little bit about you so that we can know, our listeners can know about you.
Yes, you know who the hell we're talking to. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Yeah, no. I got into, it took me quite a while to kind of really step into the industry. I always had I always loved the arts, and I always loved film and cinema and going to the theater and enjoying, sitting there for a couple hours. But I was in drama, growing up, and I kind of got into like a family business, and I did a couple things to kind of please the family. And once I got old enough to really understand what makes me happy and what makes me, want to go to work and want to do what I do now is filmmaking. So I just kind of made that leap, and I started, I was probably right out of college. I took construction engineering for a couple of years, and I just graduated. And when I started working, I just wasn't happy. And I think, happiness is key. Obviously you live once, so I just feel like everybody should just be happy with what you're doing.
Exactly.
No matter who says what, at the end of the day, you're living it. So I kind of just jumped into it. I got an agent down here in the city and started writing my own screenplays. And I met, my co-partner, Prem Singh, he's an EP on Occupants.
Cool.
And we kind of, we just started writing, and we just started making film.
Cool.
It's something really special when you're behind the camera, even in front of it as a performer. But, the whole reason why I got into acting and filmmaking in general is because when you go into a movie theater, right? What usually happens, when you're sitting there watching a film, you're embracing a character, you're developing, emotions, ups and downs, and you're going along for this, this beautiful ride. But while you're there watching this film and you're relating to these characters, you're not really thinking about life. Like, you're not thinking about your debts, your worries, your problems, your issues. You're there for 3 hours. You have some popcorn, you have, a couple snacks, some Coke, and you're just watching, and you're relaxing your mind, and you're just, in this world that we create. So I think that's what's really special about filmmaking. I wanted to give that to people. I wanted to give people, a 2-3 hour break away from life, and just come and enjoy, a good picture.
An escape.
A type of therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in a sense, a type of therapy, and you just get to just relax and breathe, and just be comfortable and just develop emotions up and down, and that's that's one of the main reasons why I'm still doing this, is because I want to give people that. I want to give people that 3 hours to come watch me work.
Is there something?
And relax.
Is there something about acting that you find personally rewarding?
Not really in a sense of reward, like being rewarded.
Well, not like that, but I mean, it's like, is there some kind of internal sense of pleasure that you get from taking on other roles?
Totally, yeah, like totally, absolutely. Especially when I embody a different character. That's one thing I love about pictures and cinema and film, is that unlike TV and television shows, and there's nothing wrong with television. I love watching TV, and I love a number of series that I'm actually glued on right now. But when you're on TV and you're performing for a TV show, you're that same character for 1 season, 2 seasons, 10 seasons. You're that same individual. With film, you're lucky enough to kind of embody different people every project. It's something new. It's something refreshing. It's something different. It comes with, troubles. It comes with, you learn something about yourself every time. So it is great. Like for Occupants, I had to embody 2 different characters in one film.
Oh,
Right.
And I thought that was really special, because a lot of actors they don't really get that opportunity. And the way Julia really writes, and she brought these characters to life, even with Brianna's character Annie, it's literally 2 different sides of the spectrum. So I was thrilled to play, especially Neal and opposite Neal or parallel Neal. It was just
Darth Neal.
Dark Neal.
Neal, the darker side of the guy. But it was, like just to answer your question, it's extremely rewarding when it comes to that kind of stuff, for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting, because as dark as Annie is, Dark Annie. Neal is
Darth Neal is just. I mean,
Right.
we've heard some little scuttlebutt from Russ about more of Darth Neal's background. How much did Russ share with you, and did you bring anything to the table in terms of developing either Neal's?
Yeah, well, Russ is great like that. He lets us kind of embody the characters ourselves and create this background story. And before we shot, we had a little table read, and then we kind of pulled us aside individually, and we just kind of bounced off, ideas. And he's really good like that. And he had many ideas, and majority of them we took and we worked with, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to bring his vision to life, like any director.
Right.
As an actor, I want to please him. I want to please, the captain of the ship, and I'm there to make sure his vision that he has isn't in his mind from the beginning, comes out accordingly. So, we definitely worked together on that, and we shared it. We bounced ideas off each other, and we shared it.
Now, when you're behind the camera, so to speak, are you directing, or are you director of photography, or what is it that you do behind the camera, or just producer?
Yeah, I started acting. So I started being in front of the camera, and I still do. That's my number one goal, and that's what I love about filmmaking, as being the performer in it. But in the city here in Toronto, in the 6 where I'm from, there's not a lot of parts that I'd like to be in. They cast a lot of these pictures in the mecca of, there wasn't a lot to give here in Toronto, so we started writing. So behind the camera, I screenwrite, and then I was fortunate enough to start a film called Tiger. It's about a Sikh boxer who's banned from the sport due to his religious beliefs, and it stars Mickey Rourke and Janelle Parrish, myself, and my partner Prem Singh, who plays the lead, and he's phenomenal in it. And we wrote that story. It's a true story. It happened here in the city. So we wrote it because we weren't happy with what we were given. So during that time in production, during the filming of Tiger, I got to really shadow our director, Alistair Grierson, who directed Sanctum with James Cameron. He's the EP on that film.
Oh.
So I got to really watch him and shadow him, and that made me want to direct. So we just kind of came back from Tiger, and I directed a short film called Chiaroscuro, who it's like this dark, kind of twisted short film that we shot here in the city. So when in referring to like behind the camera, I'm more of just like kind of getting my feet wet a little bit and just trying different things.
The reason I asked is, depending on what your answer was, well, I mean, any answer is your answer, but
Mm-hmm.
does it make you a better actor spending time behind the camera then? That was the reason I asked the question.
Yeah, no, I think it gives me a better perspective of what the director sees and wants. Even with screenwriting, it just gives me, a better idea of how this writer, tries to portray characters, or how they want me on book or off book. It just gives me a better idea. It's like construction, because I was working construction. When you open up a business, or any business for that matter, and I'm building a house and I'm doing the concrete forming, I still want to know how you put on the roof and the trusses and frame the house and brick the house.
Right.
So I kind of bring that into filmmaking. I kind of just want to know everything. Even though I'm an actor, I still want to know, everything. And I think it just helps with the overall, experience on set and working with everybody individually.
Cool.
Yeah.
So going back to Occupants now,
Mm-hmm.
since that's the big thing right now, and it's running wild throughout the convention circuit and the film festival circuit.
Great.
When we last talked to Russ, he actually shared a little tidbit about some background regarding Neal, Darth Neal, and some shenanigans that he was up to that we never saw on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any story details, any character details that maybe people who've seen the movie or people who are curious about the movie might want to know about that maybe didn't quite make it onto the silver screen?
I'm honestly, I have no idea what Russ. I should have listened to that interview, that little snake, but I'm not sure what he said. But it's enlightening me a little bit.
Actually,
I think it was
someone else's interview.
Was it somebody else?
He was being interviewed by somebody else. It wasn't with us.
Oh, what was he saying?
Well, he basically kind of said that every time Darth Annie was pregnant, that Darth Neal continually caused her to miscarry. Repeatedly.
Oh, you're like the background
Repeatedly.
Yeah,
more than once.
Yes.
Definitely more than once.
Every time she got pregnant, he caused her to miscarry. Every time.
That makes him
every single time. It's like that. It's that fine line about, do you want a family, or do you, like, what's the deal with this character, right? But
yeah.
That's the struggle that he kind of went through. He just wasn't happy with where he was and what he was up to, and I don't know. He just wasn't in it.
Wow.
So
wasn't in the relationship, wasn't it?
Right. So when it comes to these two Neals,
yes.
I mean, one thing that keeps being repeated throughout the film by both Neal and Annie, and that is, they're us, but they're not us.
Mm-hmm.
So in approaching these two characters, how were you able to make that make that divide? How are you able to differentiate one from the other? I mean, obviously, there was the physical appearance, but what were you able? How did you approach them internally in order to give each one? And this may sound a little new agey, but how were you able to give each one of them their own different energy?
It's a great question. Even when we I shaved and got cleaned up and I physically changed, it definitely helped the process. But I got the screenplay a couple months back before we actually went to camera, and I have a great acting coach here in the city, Marvin Hins, who really helped me break down the screenplay and get those two different beats out. And we really and what really helped me was just creating these background stories for these characters. And yes, they are the same physically, but not mentally. Internally, they're totally different. I kind of played it as, Dark Neal took the wrong path in life, and he took the wrong job that he wasn't happy with, and he got married to the woman who he's not happy with, and he didn't enjoy being the person he was, and it kind of just shows up on screen. But it did help playing that happy-go-lucky character first, because we shot all the I guess good Neal scenes first, and then when we switched up, it was easy to just kind of change into that gear rather than going day in, day out. So it was kind of like shooting two different movies, two different characters, and that definitely helped.
Yeah, it was probably easier than trying to shoot good Neal on one day and bad Neal on the other.
Because
obviously they have different facial.
Yeah,
but
definitely. And then we would have to grow up that beard again. But there's a movie called Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal, who was filmed here in Toronto. I think it was back in 2013, but there was no physical change. It was the same kind of deal, with playing the same character, the same character, but two different, I guess, like parallels of each other. And there was no change there. There was no change facial. So I'm not even sure how they shot that, but I'm sure it was a bit more difficult than what I had to do,
So
kudos to him.
Do you naturally wear facial hair or not?
Yeah,
or did you grow it out for that?
That was kind of getting out of hand there, but they wanted me to.
I will admit,
it was a little bushy.
I took one look at that and went, oh my God, okay, it's a nest.
Yeah, it wasn't maintained at all. I'm more of you know what, I shave it down. I do shave it down, and it was nice to kind of have something that I never had before, and that's the great thing about filmmaking, being an actor. You do a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily do on a day-to-day basis. Like for Tiger, it's a boxing film, and I became this boxer for a year, and I was from the East Coast of America, and I put on this accent, and I just became this totally different person, and it's something that I wouldn't do every day. Like I was boxing every day for hours, and it's just something you don't do. So even with going back to Occupants, I grew out this beard, and I was learning about architecture because that's what he was, and it's just like it's a beautiful process. It really is, and I enjoyed working on Occupants, and I enjoyed working with everybody on that set.
Do you really inhabit those characters during the entire production time?
I try my best,
because I know there's some actors that just they just so lose their minds. I mean, they become that character for that entire shoot. I can't think of the one actor now, and I'm really upset that I can't think of his name.
Marlon Brando,
but
there's a couple even today.
Like the actor who played Wormtongue in the Lord of the Rings movies.
Oh, Brad
Dourif. Yeah. Brad Dourif. I mean, he adopted a British accent and maintained it until Peter Jackson said, "Okay, that is Brad's last take. Thank you very much." And then Brad says, "Oh well, thank God, I can now drop that British accent."
Yeah, totally.
So, have you ever found yourself actually kind of being that? Not obsessive or anything like that, but just that involved in a character that you're taking.
Yeah, totally. I try my best to do that. Especially with accents. I understand why he probably did that. It's just because you just want it to come out like it normally does, like any other accent or dialect that you have. Right. You're not thinking about it. You're speaking it. So on the set of Tiger, I had my accent as long as I possibly could, even when I left the set. But it does help, because when you're this character for months before, during filming, and you're still this character, it just becomes you. You become this character. That character becomes you, and it's not so much of an acting, quote unquote, experience. It's just you becoming this person, and you're just giving it to the director, your scene partner. So I try my best to do it. It's difficult. It's very difficult, but I truly do try.
Do you
kind of body this character?
Do you like seeing yourself? Did you watch the dailies? I mean, are you one of these people that I can't? I'm okay with watching my performance the next day, or is oh no, I can't see anything that I've done.
I cannot see it. I would rather not see it, as long as my director's happy with my work, and I try. Every job that I've ever done, you have to really trust who you're working with, especially your captain and your director. You have to have full trust in your director.
So
if I do something and I look at him or her and I'm like, are you happy? We're moving, and they decide to move on, they're more than happy with what they got, and then I'm more than happy. So I don't really have to see the dailies. I'd rather not. Even when I watch myself on this, on the work that I've done, it's a different kind of, I don't know, it's a different feel. It's a different kind of mindset that you kind of have to put yourself through. It's kind of strange in a way.
Yeah. I don't listen to our podcast.
I don't either.
I was just about to ask you guys the same question. Is it rough hearing yourself, like hearing your own voice?
Not so much.
Did you get used to it?
I'm used to. I'm used to. I'm very much accustomed to listen to the sound of my own voice. But there are times where I have no desire to listen to anything that we've recorded, because I become enormously self-conscious with how maybe I conducted myself during that day.
And I think that's the problem, is it's the self-conscious point in our brains that are telling us, something else. When I watch myself on the big screen or anything that I've done, I'm like, man, why did I do it like that? Or why did I say it like that? Or
that was going to be my next question.
That face. Why am I making that face? It's like small little things that you point out.
Right.
But I think that also comes with experience and and just I guess the more times you like you guys, the more time you hear yourself, the more accustomed.
I guess so. I mean, maybe I'm not quite so self-critical.
Yeah.
But that was going to be my next question. So obviously you don't watch the dailies, and I seriously get that. But the finished product, I mean, I assume you've seen the finished Occupants film.
I have watched the finished Occupants film once, and I think I won't watch it again. Not because it's bad. It's a great film.
It is a great film. I will stand up and say this is a magnificent film. I loved it.
It is very, very well done, and kudos to everybody on board. But for myself, I'm like, ugh. Even with everything else I've done, it's like I watch it once or twice. I'm like, okay, let's try to watch something else right now.
Okay, so let's have a little bit of fun here.
Yes.
First, was there something about it, about your performance, or just a scene, anything that made you kind of go, ah?
There's probably I could count. I need more fingers.
Oh really?
Oh dear. I thought you were great.
It's not like a specific. It's just my face, really. It's just everything, my body, just seeing myself. I don't know. It's just a very weird, surreal kind of moment. I think that I'm still trying to get used to.
Okay.
And I think that it's not like specific points or I don't know.
Okay.
It's just. I think it's just the whole experience. Me sitting down watching a film that with me in it, becoming somebody else with a group of people. It's just a weird experience.
Yeah.
Were there any moments that you saw yourself where you were very happy with something that you did?
Yeah, totally. I'm happy with the majority of the things I do. It's just I don't know. It's the whole experience. Really, it's really hard for me to even explain it. But like I said, as long as my director and everybody else is happy, then I'm the happiest. I'm like a pig in dirt. I'm the happiest guy around.
You can say pig. You can say pig and shit if you want.
Yeah, I'm a pig and shit. Right?
Yeah, we'll just bleep that out twice.
I'm a pig and dirty shit. But
3 times.
But as long as everybody else is really happy about it, then I am more than happy. So it's maybe it's a bit of it's kind of selfish in a way, but I just, for me personally, it's not that it's not selfish at all. It's not about me. It's not about if I'm happy, or it's not about if I feel like it's a great shot or a great scene. As long as everybody else is happy, I'm more than happy. So. And that's like everything I kind of do, It's just I'm here to please. As an actor, I'm here to please. And if the audience is happy, and if my team and my director, they're happy, then fuck, I'm happy, very very happy.
So I understand that the house was haunted. Did you experience anything?
I didn't personally experience anything, but everybody was saying. I think there's a photo going around. One of the crew guys took a photo, and in the back you see like a silhouette or something. But
interesting.
Russ stayed there.
Right.
So I think he would probably give you a better.
Yeah. I just wondered if you had any experience.
Russ did mention that there were a few incidents here and there, but we were kind of wondering because Brianna also she made a comment when we interviewed her that there was a moment of hauntedness, shall we say, but we were wondering if you had any kind of experience with that as well.
No, I wasn't. I didn't personally experience it, but for the majority of the shoot, everybody was kind of just talking about it, and it also passes time, right? Like
right, exactly. Something to talk about.
It's exactly so. But it went well. Everything went well. The house was beautiful. Like we got lucky with that. They got lucky with the house.
It looked like a really nice house.
Yeah, and really opened up. Like the way Russ even shot it, it made it seem like there's a massive house, and we had all this room and places, and it wasn't that case at all. It was nice. It was tight. It was a small house, but he just really opened it up and let it breathe throughout the shots and the scenes. And our DP Harris was just like, I think he's awesome too. So everybody was like, we had the space, we had the house, and they just made it happen. They made it work.
Now, one of the things that I really enjoyed about this film is actually the setup, as the story is beginning to unfold, and that's all about Neal's, or more like Annie's, project for healthy living, and how everything's being video documented. And watching you and her on the screen together in the very beginning was absolutely fantastic. I mean, I literally did not think that I was watching a movie. I felt like I was watching something that had been posted to YouTube by some really just some real people. There was something very natural about it. And Russ did kind of share that he had the two of you spend time together. What did you do in order to create such a really comfortable environment and relationship with Brianna for the sake of this film? Because I thought it was fantastic.
You had good chemistry.
Thanks.
Oh, chemistry was amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I think it just comes in the work. You know, I was fortunate enough to be casted well before we casted our lead, Brianna, and I was fortunate enough to actually go down and be there for the auditioning process. So I kind of flew down to LA, and I was the reader for these actresses to come through. So we had, you know, a number of women that came through, great actresses. And I just kind of, as soon as she walked through that door, we kind of just had that chemistry. And it was a very easy pick, and she was great. She killed the audition, and she came back for a couple callbacks, and away we went. So I went back to Toronto, and I chilled at home. And then when I came back, we had a couple weeks before we started shooting, and we kind of just went out and we got to know each other, and we had a couple dinners and we had a couple coffees, and that definitely helped. You know, we bounced off ideas, and we spoke about our characters and how we felt about the film. And by the time we came to shoot the film and get in front of this camera, we already had that relationship, you know, that chemistry, sort of say. We already had that. We trusted one another to a certain extent, and I think it definitely shows on camera.
Oh, it does, because there are some great moments of vulnerability played by both. Well, mostly by Annie, but there's even a moment of vulnerability by Darth Neal. Mm-hmm. And yeah, if you don't have that trust, then you can't really lower the barriers like that. And it was just some fantastic acting on both of your parts. Now, first thing, Russ shared a little cute anecdote that once they picked Brianna, they couldn't reach her, and apparently you were contacted about how maybe they might have to go with number 2.
Yeah, I honestly I can't really remember how that actually went down, but I feel like we were trying to contact their agent, and I think she was gonna go away on vacation or something like that, and you know, at the end of the day, stuff like that happens all the time. You know, you try to go with that, you know, your first pick, and either, you know, the red lines contracts don't work out, or they're not here during the shooting dates. It tends to happen, but to be honest with you, I can't really put my finger on that specific time with Brianna.
Yeah, apparently Russ said that he tried to reach Brianna and he got her voicemail because she was at work.
Oh, and then she took a couple hours to get back.
Yes.
And we're like sweating. We're like, oh my God, are we going to get her? Are we not?
Yeah, and then apparently Russ contacted you and says, well, we may have to go with number 2. And Russ says that you came back with, no!
Yeah. I guess number 2 wasn't that great, but Brianna, she killed it.
Oh, she absolutely nailed it.
She's great, and she is so different. I mean,
in real life,
she is so different in real life.
Yes,
and the two characters. I mean, both of you are great in both of the characters. But it was like to meet Brianna because we met her in person, and and it was like so very different than either one of the Annies on the screen. It was amazing.
And that's why it was so wonderful what she brought to that character. So it definitely worked. She worked for sure.
So how did you get contacted for this film?
I with the film Tiger, that boxing film, I worked with Howard Nash, excuse me, who's one of the producers or one of the executive producers on Tiger.
Right.
And he showed me what he's working on now, and it was Occupants. He let me read the screenplay, and I thought it was awesome. And he said, why don't you just meet the director? Why don't you go meet Russ? So I flew down to LA, and I met with Russ, and we kind of just shot it a little bit, and that was kind of, I guess, my little audition. You know, I did a little screen test for Russ, and he was happy with it, and we kind of just went forward like that. So I got introduced, to this film through Howard Nash, who produced Occupants.
So Howard Nash is everywhere.
Yeah,
apparently
he's
so.
in everything, man. He's working. He's working hard.
Yeah.
So that was your first sci-fi flick, then?
Yeah, it was my first sci-fi deal. I'm more of like drama. It is kind of drama intensive too, but I'm more of like a drama kind of actor. But it was something different. You know, what really made me attracted to this in particular screenplay was the character differential. It was two different characters in the same. That's what I wanted to play for a very, very long time. I thought it was very, very interesting, and Julia really knew how to, you know, put those characters on the page,
Right.
and I thought I could bring something special to it. And that's what really made me want to. So whether it was sci-fi or drama or an action, I just really wanted to just, you know, jump into this.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
what other projects do you have coming up?
I'm working on a film called Tiger. It's, like I said, it's a Sikh-based film about a boxer who was banned from the sport because he was wearing a beard and a turban. It's a true story. It happened here in Canada. It stars Mickey Rourke and Janelle Parrish. She's one of the stars of Pretty Little Liars. So that's coming out at the end of this year. We submitted to Toronto, the TIFF. It's funny that we brought that up, but so we submit to TIFF, and we're hoping to get our premiere there. I worked on a little short film called hiatus with, you know, a couple of great actors and actresses, and with Justin Sudar and Prem Singh does a fantastic job as one of the leads in the film. And we were working with an actress who you could start actually seeing her a lot on TV. Her name's Sarah Garcia, and she did a fantastic job with that. And I just opened up a record label called Running Tiger Records, and we're trying to support local talent for now. And
Ooh, very,
yeah.
very good. Independent.
Yeah.
We like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So we just opened it up, and we're building a studio here, you know, out of the city. We're a quiet little area, and we have a couple artists in mind, and we're going back and forth with some red lines. So paperwork. So right now that's what I'm working on, and I partners with Prem Singh and this like incredible musician Andrew Licata, who he's a musical genius. He's been in the industry for, you know, years and years upon years, and he really brings a true insight to the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So Running Tiger Films and Running Tiger Records are something that, you know, I'm focusing a lot of my time in, especially now.
Oh, that's fantastic. So
Yeah.
if people want to learn more about you and anything that you're working on, do you have any kind of social media presence or website, anything like that on the interwebs, any place?
Yeah, I have I have a couple of I guess I have a Twitter account, Team MJP. I have an Instagram account, MJ Pugliese, and a Facebook page with Michael Joseph Pugliese, my full name. And if you want to see what I'm doing, that's kind of like me working those mainstream social media platforms. But IMDb, just type in my name, and you can kind of have a good idea of what I'm doing next, what I've done in the past, and yeah.
Oh, very, very, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Michael, it was a real pleasure being able to talk with you. I
Likewise.
You know, as exciting as it was to meet Brianna, we'd also hoped that we could meet you, and maybe there'll be a future con someplace or a future film festival that maybe we finally have the pleasure of bumping into you, because as I said, watching you in this film watching both you and Brianna in this film was an absolute joy. It was not just a very compelling story, but watching two very, very capable, more than capable actors at their craft is something that, yeah, as you said earlier, you know, it makes you forget about what daily grind you're going through, and you
Totally.
certainly helped out. You know, I was
Thank
able to
you so
forget
much.
about my job and, you know, bills and stuff like that. I could just all I could do is just simply watch your amazing performance, because I thought it was.
Thank you very much. Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
you, Brianna, were great. This movie is
Thank you.
great, and there's nothing else I could really add to that.
Believe me, that's more than I'm blown away. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Michael Pugliese,
Thanks for having me.
being on our show.
Thank you for having me, guys.
And this time we have an interview with the composer of Occupants, the film, Mr. Vasilis Milesis. And he has graciously joined us from Miami, Florida, after Florida SuperCon, and where Russ won Best Director in the Film Fest. So welcome to the show, Vasilis.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
So you are a composer and orchestrator. That at least that's what your bio and IMDb says. What else do you do besides compose music and orchestrate music?
Pretty much everything that has to do with creating videos. I like film editing as well. During the last year, I created a video game that is going to be ready in maybe 6 months or 8 the most. So, I like to be, everywhere around this.
In the creative process.
Yes, exactly, this creative process.
Yeah. I have to ask, being a computer programmer, a game designer, and being a film composer are two things that I would not necessarily link together with any particular individual. To hear you do both of these is very surprising. So which of these came first? Which avenue did you pursue first? Was it game design or was it composing?
No, of course it was composing first. I started dealing with music since I was 8 or 9 years old. The video game thing started maybe less than a year.
Wow.
So I decided to create a video game in order to include my music on it.
Well, that's a very clever way to market your own material.
Exactly.
Exactly. So hopefully it's going to be launched in 8 months, and let's see. I mean, it's a very ambitious idea, but I think it's going well.
Can you tell us anything about this video game? What the name of it is, or anything?
It's an action adventure, and it's horror based, and it's almost open world. I don't know if you know the term.
Right.
It's an open world game, and it doesn't have anything to do about zombies and Resident Evil stuff. It's more like a realistic approach to a true story that happened in Greece.
Interesting. Fascinating.
Yes.
That sounds wonderful. So tell us, how did you get involved in the Occupants, the film project, and tell us about that, and tell us about your approach to that film, because we just sat and that's why we were kind of late. We were sitting and watching, fast forwarding through the film and catching all the instrumental moments in the Occupants, the film. So tell us, how did you get hooked up with Russ, and how did you approach that film?
We were friends on Facebook with Russ, and I saw one day one of his posts about his movie Occupants, and I offered myself as a composer.
Oh.
I knew at this moment that he didn't have anyone booked, let's say. So because I really wanted to participate on that, I offered myself, and I said, "Look, I'm available. I would really love to compose and to score for the music for your movie."
Wow.
He spoke with Howard Nass, the producer, and they decided that they liked the previous work that I've done, and they decided that I should be on board too.
What was it about Occupants that made you want to be the composer for this film?
The movie, if you would say, you would describe the story of this movie, nobody would expect a 45 minutes music on it. It could perfectly work almost without music,
right?
Because it's like how can I say? It was a great thing that we could combine the way that Russell wanted to direct his movie with the still cameras and with cameras all over the house and everything, with the fact that he wanted to implement music on his movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
So yes, and for me it was a challenge.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I thought that the way you put the music in was the film could have stood alone without music, but the insertion of the music, especially on the alternate universe pieces, primarily at first, and then it started to blend, together. So I thought that was fascinating.
That was the most challenging part. Finally, not to overscore the movie, right? I mean, not to think that okay, this now the music is too much, but listen to the music, and if this thing comes naturally to your ears, this is the success of the collaboration between the music and the movie.
Right.
To become one, and that was the most challenging part. So I think we did it. I think we managed to include music in a way that it's not there, it's not in your face, but it works, and it serves the feelings that
right.
Russell wanted to express.
It enhances the emotion.
Exactly.
Enhances
this is the verb that I was searching up.
Exactly. Yeah, I suspected that's what you were searching for. Yeah, it was great. I thought the way that the natural blending of obviously on the dark half, and then some of the sweetness on the light half, and then the kind of the blending together and coming together. And did you say that there was 45 minutes of music in this?
Yes.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot of music.
That's virtually half the film because it was 8. Well, it is half the film.
Yes.
It's a little it's about half.
In the beginning, Russell wanted fewer minutes, but during the process of composing, and when I started, because I was living in Spain during this time that we started, and I was sending him the audio files via WeTransfer. So when he started receiving these things, and when he put the music in his movie, first couple of weeks, he decided, okay, I think it could work perfectly with even more music. So that was a great thing for me, because not only because I was able to compose more, but also because I had the same opinion that it could work perfectly with.
Yeah.
So let me understand now. You were living in Spain at the time that the time you were composing this film. I assume that Russ was sending you video files of the film so that you knew exactly what it is you needed to compose.
Exactly. I was pretty lucky because Russell finished the movie quite early, so I had a lot of time to compose. I had maybe more than 2 months, which is a lot for a composer.
Yeah.
Composers are always coming by the end of a movie. We are the last workers of the movie,
right.
With we and the visual effects guys. So we had to, I had a lot of time. That was one of the most beautiful things about this movie, that I had a lot of time to compose. So he sent me literally the whole movie.
Wow.
The whole movie was locked. I mean, he had everything ready, and he said me, look, his notes were very detailed. I need music from this second until this second, actually with frames. We were working with frames from this frame until this frame.
Right.
I want, in this second, I would like this kind of music and this hit. He knew what he wanted, and this thing, at least in my case, this thing helped me a lot.
What is your composition process? In terms of when you're working on a particular scene, how do you sit down and actually compose that?
First of all, you have to be a team player. You have to put your own music background and your own music opinion. But first of all, you have to ask the opinion of the director. So because this is his movie, this is his vision about the movie. So you have to know what he wants to achieve in every scene.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, you are suggesting some things that you may think that it could work better, or you will try to. I tried actually to adjust his vision into my musical background and my vision. So sometimes you are working with themes. Let's say we had a theme for Brianna. We have a theme for situation. You have a theme for an actor. You have a theme for a feeling. Sometimes you just need a background music which has nothing to do with the overall movie. It's literally it has to do everything with the scene that you are composing with music for.
Okay, so in terms of instrumentation when you actually sit down and compose? I assume you sit down at a piano and start working out your themes and your leitmotifs that way?
Yes. I always work with piano first. I like to consider myself as a melody maker. So even though I don't want, for this movie, I didn't want to create complicated melodies. I wanted to create melodies that are memorable and, that the viewer could remember and connect between scenes and develop them during the movie. So the first thing that I did is to create some melodies for the female actor, for the actress, and after that for the actor, and some melodies for situations like, I don't know, I don't want to spoil scenes from the movie, but there were some moments that I had to compose specific melodies for specific occasions.
Right, there was some tense moments in the film.
Exactly, you understood me.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Oh,
yes.
absolutely. Yeah, we've seen the film like four or five times already.
We've lost count how many times we've seen it.
But let me.
That's great. That means that you liked it.
Oh, we love the movie.
Oh, yeah, we loved it. I don't want to make an assumption, but do you compose at a standard piano or an electronic piano?
Electrical piano, yeah.
Yeah, so that way it's easy to kind of just stick it in there and record it, and there it is, and then you work on it from there. Okay.
Is that how you also then start developing your orchestrations? Because when watching the film again today, I know, granted, normally when you watch a movie, in many cases you're not really paying attention to the music. I mean, the music is there to help tell the story and help drive it and help create emotion. So this is and usually I listen to dialogue. This was the first time I actually decided to focus solely on the music, and there's some very interesting developments that take place. So at some point during maybe your discussions with Russ, do you decide how you want to orchestrate some of the scenes? Because there's some beautiful arrangements that take place at various moments of the movie.
The orchestration, as I said before, I spoke with Russell about the melodies. For the orchestration, this is something that you are doing afterwards. So, of course, Russell advised me if he suggested things, and he commented if he didn't like something. But with most of the orchestrations that I made after the melodies were made, he was really happy with them. So, the orchestrations are coming to support, let's say, the melody.
Right.
And it's nice that you notice them on the fourth time that you saw the movie, because this is what I wanted to do. I mean, if it's noticeable from the beginning, you are missing the point. You are missing the point of the dialogue. You are missing the point of music serving the movie.
Right.
So you have to see the movie and be really focused on the music in order to understand how the instrumentation works.
Right. Exactly. And that's
how a successful score works. I think that this is one of the great things that we did with Russell, that we made it be great. I mean, because of that.
Right. So I noticed that there was also you left a little bit of electronic sound in there, which was great. I mean, combined with the regular orchestra, that electronic sound kind of helped to make it a little more mysterious and a little more creepy, and added to the film, and I liked that tremendously.
And may I add a little more modern? I didn't want to be totally classical approach.
Right.
It could be the easy approach to have an instrumentation totally based on the orchestra. It's a very common way to compose music for a thriller, let's say, for a movie. But it's also, I had a chance to compose music and to record with a 30-piece orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of a trick, if I may say, to have music to the part that the orchestra is not there, the live orchestra, and still don't be able to separate, to recognize the difference, if you know what I mean. I mean, there had to be parts that there were orchestra sounds, but it wasn't from an orchestra. It was from sound libraries. So by using electronic sounds, you can, let's say, fool in a way this imitation of a real orchestra,
Right.
of a real orchestra sound.
So, so if I understand you correctly, does that mean you did not? I mean, have you conducted when you've recorded scores in the past?
No, for this movie, you mean, or for other ones?
For past films, have you conducted orchestras for recording any kind of soundtrack?
Yes, a couple of times, yes.
But not for this one.
No, it was a recording. I mean, we did this via Skype.
Mm-hmm.
It was an orchestra in Portugal at this moment.
Oh,
Wow.
really?
So,
Interesting.
Yes, I was in Spain, and we were contacting via Skype.
Oh my!
Wow, what an international attempt!
Yes.
So
Yes.
I noticed that it was the credit was the $99 orchestra.
Yes, exactly.
And so that was I assume that there are orchestras around the world. Then is that kind of what I'm getting?
This is a Kickstarter project. If you mean about this orchestra, this specific orchestra was a Kickstarter project. And it was the beginning. It was the first launch that they continued after that. They had a couple of more launches in the Kickstarter.
Oh, interesting. That's fascinating.
And it was a very successful one, I have to tell you. We chose to record 22 minutes, which means around 5 to 6 minutes music. Because you have to take you need 2 or 3 takes, 2 or 3 recordings of the same music in order to make sure that the orchestra will reach the appropriate sound, the sound that you want.
Right.
You cannot achieve the perfect sound from the first take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like with everything. So 22 minutes, it's like 5 or 6 minutes of real music.
Wow.
So have you had a chance to see the finished film with your music in it?
Yes.
What did you think?
Exciting.
Well, I know sometimes it does put people on the spot, but I'm kind of curious. When you watched the film, were you more aware of your music, or were you like maybe the rest of the audience where it's just sort of there in the background and you're kind of taking it in subconsciously?
Look, as a film editor, like I said in the beginning, I already implemented my music behind the dialogues because Russell was sending me the movie without the sound effects. With the sound effects, I had at some point a separate track of the sound effects, and I could create my own mixes during the composing process. So I knew more or less how it's going to be the result.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end, he sent me the final, and it was much better because he balanced the mix with a professional sound mixer, and I was super excited to see the result with the visual effects that I didn't see.
Yeah.
Because the visual effects were the last ones that were done,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like your own kid. You can see all of your hard work there on the screen.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you were happy with it.
Yes. More than
Yeah, it really was. It was great. I think the movie with the actors and the visual effects and the sound and the music were just the whole package was an incredible package. I can't say enough about it.
Yeah, and you'd be happy to know that a lot of people lately on social media have been giving your score some very high compliments. Everybody is commenting on how beautiful your music is.
Wow, this is great to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just read this a couple of days ago because, as you know, the movie did get its big screening in Florida, and that's the big comment that everybody is taking away. I mean, apparently there was a lot of people who watched it there, and everybody's saying the same thing.
Yeah, I'm actually here. I mean, I am.
Oh, you're there. That's right. You're there. That's
Yeah.
right. Duh. Yeah, but apparently a lot of people on Facebook are saying how much they really love the score.
I didn't notice that. Yeah, I'm happy to know that. I mean, this is one of the awards by being a composer. If people love it, you're feeling more satisfied. Right?
Yeah, and not to take anything away from the movie itself, I mean, because you make a good point. The music is not supposed to take you out of the film, but somehow, based on the comments that I've read, what you wrote certainly enhanced the overall experience. So that's a credit to you.
That.
So I want to know more about you and your musical background. Now, you said you started composing, or you fell in love with music at a very young age. What were some of your inspirations? I mean, what was the thing about music that motivated you to want to explore it as a career?
You know, I'm always sharing the same example from my childhood. When I was 7 or 8, I liked to watch the news and with a soundtrack on the background. I was putting a cassette in this moment. We didn't have CDs, and I was listening music on my headphones and watching the news and creating like a video clip on my own head. You know?
Uh-huh.
So I guess that was my first connection with not film music, but you know, with a love that I had from the beginning to include music into picture. And after that, I became a guitarist. I had my own rock band as a teenager, and I really enjoyed doing concerts. And little by little, I started creating my own projects, implementing music into small trailers that I was creating, and seeing that from movies that they didn't include. They didn't have already music on. So in 2012, I was accepted with a scholarship in Berklee College of Music, and I did my master in Valencia. So that was the key point that changed my life in musical terms and professional wise. Even though before I composed the music for 3-4 silent films in Athens. Obviously, that was a great thing, the fact that I was accepted in Berklee College of Music.
So was this a master's in composition or?
Yes, it's a master of music in scoring for film, TV, and video games.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Yeah, the same year, in 2012, I had a chance to be a media orchestrator also for the Olympic Flames ceremony, which was a great thing.
That's a big deal.
Yes. So pretty much 2012 was a great year for me musically.
Yeah, that's great.
Who are some of your inspirations in terms of music? I mean, were there any composers? I mean, you also mentioned rock band. Are there any musicians that helped fuel your fire?
What was the last one? Can you repeat for me?
Yeah, were there any musicians that really were of great inspiration to you?
Mm-hmm. I would say I love the orchestrations of the master of the kind, John Williams. Mm-hmm. And I like the simplicity of Hans Zimmer. I like the fact that he's creating amazing melodies in a very minimalistic way. Mm. So let's say that one of my goals as a composer is to be able to combine these two. I would like to create memorable melodies with really nice orchestrations, and I am in the beginning of that. I mean, obviously, I need to work on that, like every composer and every musician on earth. But this is one of my musical goals.
Very interesting. So, are there any contemporary to your time musicians? That the reason I ask is Ben is a musician, and he has several musicians and that were inspirations to him, John Denver, and then he likes progressive rock as well as classical music. So it's mm-hmm. a really eclectic blend of music that has been an inspiration to him in his musical journey, shall we say.
Yeah, so I was wondering if there were any specific other musicians. I mean, you mentioned John Williams as a composer, mm-hmm. as well as Hans Zimmer. Were there any classical composers, or possibly are there any present-day musicians that you are very much an admirer of?
Let's say that I was a big fan of Dream Theater. I don't know if you're...
Oh, yes, I'm very familiar with Dream Theater.
So as a guitarist, I loved Metropolis too.
Oh, yes. I love Metropolis.
That was my goal to be able to play the whole album.
Oh, wow.
On the guitar?
Yes.
You're gonna okay. Well, I tip my hat to you because anything John Petrucci plays is not an easy thing to do.
He's a guitarist. He plays the guitar, so.
I was actually a guitar teacher back in Greece. So,
oh, wow.
Before the film music industry, I let's say that my first real connection with the music industry was with guitar, with teaching guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And Dream Theater is a great influence in this way. From older composers, from composers from the past, I could say, Stravinsky, Wagner, Ravel, or the orchestrations of Ravel are
legendary.
Yes, I love them. I love their simplicity and the way that the instruments are implementing with each other. It's great.
Right. Well, Ben is a classically trained guitarist as well. So
yeah. But enough about that.
Yeah.
Anyway. You've hit on a couple of things that I'm very interested in. You did mention Wagner, and you'd also mentioned John Williams. And both of them are, well, especially Wagner, who was the inventor of the leitmotif. So, and you'd mentioned that you had developed themes for some of the characters in Occupants, and yes, you did kind of collaborate with Russ because obviously it is his vision. But at some point, how did you take Russ's suggestion and you just sit down at a piano and say, I can't think of her character's name, Annie. When you're writing the little motif for Annie, taking what Russ suggested to you, did you just sit down at a piano and just start kind of playing out notes randomly until something all of a sudden started to feel like it was in line with what Russ wanted?
Russell didn't guide me musically. He guided me mostly emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
He described me what Amy feels and how he wanted me to approach her feelings. So there are some tricks musically that you can start when you are creating a melody. Some tricks melody wise.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you are starting from scratch, but it's pretty much a very creative. This is the most creative process of composing for film. It's when you are, at least for me, when you are creating the melody of a theme, of a character, of a situation. After that, the instrumentation is coming more naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And I was keeping in mind Russell's suggestions in terms of emotions.
Okay.
About feelings, not in a musical way, because I knew his vision more or less. He wanted some specific things, and I thought of these things when I was creating the melody. But after that, I had the freedom to create this melody, according to my taste, let's say.
Okay. So when it came time to working in the alternate universe, now there's some really eerie, dissonant chords that take place in some moments of those parts of the film. Were you inspired? Because you mentioned horror in the past earlier. Were there past horror musical scores that maybe inspired you to want to write chords or voicings that were kind of dissonant or kind of clashing in order to help heighten the tension of the story?
In this way, one of the biggest influences for me was video games, not movies.
Mm-hmm.
So Silent Hill, I don't know if you know the video game, was a great influence. The music of Silent Hill was a great influence for me. I don't know if you are aware of the video game.
No, I'm afraid I'm not.
It's a very famous horror video game, and it's great. It's very realistic, and it has this dissonance all over. the things, one of the things that I wanted to achieve is to keep the melodies going on and play with the chords and the great and dissonances on the background of the orchestration. This is what created this, let's say, kind of creepy sound. So you are listening familiar melodies that you already listened in a much more easy, let's say, orchestration before, when you were in the normal life of the couple.
Right.
And when you are entering the alternate reality, you are listening the same melodies but with dissonance on the background, and that makes the whole thing more spooky.
Oh, I need to hear that again now. I need to listen to that again, because I was merely aware of the atmosphere that you had created, but I didn't catch how you were kind of sometimes using the same melody but just putting dissonant chords on top. That's very, very, very clever. I must tip my hat to you. I hadn't thought of that.
This is the creative process of creating the sketch, let's say, the everything in advance. So even though it sounds and it is a creative process, it needs a lot of thought in the beginning of the composing process. You need to think, okay, here I'm going to use this melody, and here, since I was lucky enough, like I told you, to have the whole movie in advance, here I'm going to use the same melody in a different way. And I was sharing this information with Russell, and he was really happy. This is one of the suggestions that, we were commenting on. But this is an advanced thought. I mean, this is thought in advance. This is not something that is coming up during the creative process.
Right.
The combination of thought and imagination.
Well, I'm very impressed, because there are some composers that I'm a huge admirer of who've used that exact same technique, and I've always found that to be an amazing method of storytelling. So when you're working on, so like now you said that you're working on music for video games as well. Is that strictly electronic at that point?
No. On the contrary.
So you actually work with an orchestra at some point, or live?
A virtual orchestra, but the sound that I'm trying to create is I want to be as realistic as possible.
Interesting.
But because it's an era video game, it happens around the 60s. So I thought that having some electronic sounds would be kind of destructive.
Okay, well, I can certainly
appreciate
that.
I prefer to have more orchestral sounds, more natural sounds. It sounded more creepy at this moment. Maybe I will add some electronic in the future. I will see. I mean, I need to finish. It's like with the movie. I need to finish the video game first in order to know what kind of music is gonna.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. That makes perfect sense. I can appreciate that. So, do you have any other projects? I mean, you've mentioned the video games. Do you have any other movie projects possibly that you might be working on in the future?
I'm having thoughts of on my own project, actually. There are some details that I cannot share with you right now.
Oh. Well, keep us in the loop. Keep us in the loop, because we'd like to talk to you when you are ready to talk about it.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, as a movie, I don't have anything right now. Hopefully, I will collaborate with Russell again in the near future. I hope that he liked this collaboration as much as I did.
Yeah.
Well, based on what everybody has said so far, and based on our conversations with Russ, I think that he liked very much what you offered.
Yeah. This is what he said to me too. That I'm just trying to push him through your program. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, right now I don't have anything else.
Okay, so
I was hired as a music teacher here in Miami.
Oh,
wonderful!
Very nice.
Yeah, this is a new chapter in my life, so I have to focus on that.
What what specific area of music are you teaching?
No, it's in a middle school.
Okay.
It's an academy. Yeah, it's a new academy here in Doral, in the place that I live, and we are going to start a new academy actually.
Oh,
and
that's
we're going
nice.
to start from August.
Well, that's good. I hope you can inspire future musicians for the years to come, because I'm a big believer in music education. So,
Exactly.
so for anybody who wants to know more about you or anything that you are working on, do you have any presence in any kind of social media? Do you have a website or a Facebook account?
Yeah, I actually do. I have most of my portfolio is on my website, which is www.vasilismilesis.com.
Okay, then. So we will make sure to let everybody know that.
And then, are you on Facebook that you want to share, or Twitter, or anything?
Yes, the same.
Okay.
Vasilis Milesis in Facebook.
Okay.
I have a Facebook page there.
Outstanding. Well, Vasilis, this was a lot of fun. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
It was a great talk having you.
Yes, and thank you very much, Vasilis Milesis, for being with us on the show today.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Rusty Manuel, Director of Occupants, and you're listening to the Two Gay Geeks.
And we have a few selected birthdays for July 11th through July 17th, 2016. July 11th, Yul Brynner. We just watched...
we watched Westworld.
Westworld just the other day, so it was kind of interesting that his birthday popped up. Also, July 11th, Tab Hunter, E.B. White, and John Quincy Adams.
The son of John Adams, and coincidentally, we just watched 1776 the other day.
Yeah. So we also have July the 12th, Van Cliburn, and I always, whenever I hear his name, I always say, okay, and what's his first name?
Uh-huh.
It just what goes through my brain whenever I hear that. Anyway, July 12th also is George Eastman, who was partner with Ian Eastman Kodak, actually an inventor and photographer.
Mm-hmm.
I had the opportunity to drive near George Eastman's home in Rochester, New York. I never got to go there, even though I was there a number of times. They were always closed whenever I had time to go.
Oh, well.
Anyway, July 12th also is George Washington Carver, Julius Caesar, and friend of the show, Jeremy Kyle. July 13th, Harrison Ford, Colton Haynes, Patrick Stewart, Erno Rubik. I assume he made the Rubik's Cube.
Yes, he did.
And the other gay geek.
Wow, that would be me.
Yes, happy birthday.
Well, thank you. I knew I shared a birthday with Patrick Stewart and Harrison Ford. Colton Haynes as well.
Yeah,
hey, I'm feeling really privileged now.
Yeah. July 14th, Harry Dean Stanton, Ingmar Bergman, and William Hanna of Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, and Ingmar Bergman, not to be confused with Ingrid Bergman.
Yes, Ingmar Bergman, the director. July 15th, Alex Karras, Adam Savage, and Kaimi Kuoha, who is...
I'm glad you had that, because I would have ruined that.
She is from Origin Beyond the Impact.
Aha!
July 16th, we wouldn't have popcorn without him, Orville Redenbacher. Well, I guess
we wouldn't have his popcorn without him.
And also, July 16th, Ginger Rogers. July 17th, Phyllis Diller. You want to say anything?
No,
not
really.
J. Michael Straczynski, and a friend of ours from a cruise that we went to Alaska, Tom King. And that is it for the birthdays today.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Forget about whether Han shot first. He did. Is it true that Han Solo teamed up with a 6-foot green rabbit? Did Darth Vader profess a devotion to the immortal gods of the Sith? And did Leia's unhealthy attraction to her brother grow for years? Ew. Hi, I'm voice actor Michael Corley, and I want to answer these questions and more on the VoxBox Star Wars comic book podcast. Each VoxBox episode covers classic Star Wars comics, starting with the original Marvel series in 1977 all the way to the present day. So tune in, have some fun, and may the force be with you at VoxBoxPodcast.com.
Go give a listen to our friends over at VoxBox Star Wars Podcast. And now, a little feedback.
Little bit of feedback. So let's start off. This is regarding episode 83, where we got to interview Hamish Downey. And he left us a nice little message saying, great to be interviewed by the TG Geeks for their great podcast in discussing my new short, Silence, which premieres at the Carmarthen Bay Film Festival soon.
Yay.
Well, good luck, Hamish, on that. And as we said, it's a fantastic short film. I recommend anybody seeing it if they get the chance. And in episode 83, I was reading some feedback from Arkle. And I guess this had something to do with the fact that Keith was trying to obtain all these domain names or something like that for the show. And Brian compared Keith to being like Elon. Well, me not knowing anything, I said I just added the name Musk to it because I thought he was talking about Elon Musk. And so Brian left feedback saying, no, Elon James White, not Elon Musk. The bit of a Freudian slip there, Ben? No, more like a stupidity slip or an ignorance slip because I didn't know. So, okay, I consider myself educated now. Then I got just a brief little message from Patricia Chica because we brought her up, and she said, I love the TG Geeks. At which point, friend and fellow interviewee Russ Emanuel came back with, me too. And we love the both of you very, very much. And then we got a great message from good friend Scott Linder. He says, great episode, guys. So, finally saw X-Men Apocalypse, and I have to say that I thought it was a pretty good movie. With all the mixed reviews and such, I tried to go in without any expectations and was very pleasantly surprised. Loved the Quicksilver scene and really loved how they worked it to show how conflicted Magneto is. Yeah. Love the cameo in the movie of a certain feral mutant. Yeah, would agree with you. I had a great time with it. And then we got a little message from Paul Leeming. Now, he has worked with Hamish, especially when they were doing Silence, and he said, just finished listening. Good interview. And then he added, for anyone's listening, here's a photo of the miner guy in the tunnel. And anybody doesn't remember, Hamish made reference to this poor lost soul they found in this almost pitch black tunnel, except for a pair of headlights that were blinding them in the face. And Paul included that photo, and I suppose for anybody who wants to know, we will probably include that in the notes so they can see it for themselves. Then last week, we ran a story about how the CW and Netflix have entered into an exclusive agreement. And for anybody who doesn't know what that is, well, you can go to the article because the link will be in our show notes for this episode. But in a nutshell, CW has said that all of their shows, once they finish airing for that particular season, will then go over to Netflix. Netflix will have exclusive access to those shows. No one else will. And Hamish gave a comment saying, I wonder if it will go the other way as well. Have to think about that. And then last week, probably one of the most controversial stories to be reported on in quite some time, where Star Trek Beyond will show Sulu as gay, and he will have a husband. Wow. Well, a number of people chimed in on that one. Sean from Edwards wrote, while this is cool and all, the original Sulu, George Takei, advised the filmmakers to keep the character straight and to introduce another character instead, at which point he then included a link to an article that where they interviewed both George Takei and Simon Pegg. So we will have that on the website as well. Got a message from Martin Collins, and he says, if the idea was to pay tribute to someone, then I would have thought they might consider his opinion. Got another message from old friend Alice Harper, and she writes, Sulu was married to a woman in the original series movies and had a granddaughter. What the hell? Okay. And then got a message from Crazy Joe, and he writes, From the moment I heard the news, I instantly thought it was a bit disrespectful to George Takei before he even spoke out on it publicly. And at which point, then Joe kind of, he wrote a tome. It's a very big one.
You can see his thoughts.
Yeah, I'm not going to go over the entire thing, but he really does go over a lot about his thoughts regarding John Cho's Sulu being revealed to be gay. So instead of covering all of that, we will include the link to this posting on our show notes for this topic, so you can see it for yourself. And then going back to this article about the guidelines that were established by Paramount and CBS, we got a feedback on our own website from someone named Ross, and he simply had this to say: "Great reason to do some BSG fan films." Well, I'm not going to argue with that one. And then now this is lastly, and this is in regards to our most recent episode, episode 84, where we got to interview Joe Hogan and Matt Lancelotti from Palm Springs. And Joe, of course, is with Geektitude. And that was the episode where we interviewed them Friday night at Comic-Con.
And it was, I had to listen to the episode. I normally don't listen to our episodes, but I listened to that episode.
This was funny.
I laughed. I laughed till
I laughed
I
out
cried.
loud. I laughed out loud listening to this episode.
Tears running down my face.
I had forgotten how funny it was.
It really was a great time.
And it wasn't so much about what we were saying, but is what they were saying. They were very, very funny, but I guess there were some people that thought what we said was pretty amusing too, because we got a message from Kenny Rotter, who is of
Dumbbells
and Dragons
podcast.
And he simply wrote, "Laughing so hard, people are staring at me. Hashtag Hulk has nothing on me." And the funny thing was, when he said Hulk has nothing on me, to be honest, I thought he was like working out in the gym. And he was listening to it on his iPod or something, and I thought
he probably was.
He probably was. And
that's not the reference.
But that's not the reference. But I thought that's what he was talking about, and then I listened to I thought, I think I really need to listen to this. So I played it back, and then I realized, oh no, it was something that I had said.
And then you messaged me and said, "You have to listen to this episode.
You have to listen to this. It's hilarious." And then we got a message from Philippe Conway, and he said, "Seriously laughed out loud over the green chili incident. Been there." Who knew that the green chili that would be such a great talking point? And then it was closed out by good friend Joe Hogan, and he simply wrote, "We had such a fun time. We'll have to do it again soon."
And we got a comment from Matt.
We did?
On mine. I had reshared it and said, "This is probably one of our funniest episodes." And then Matt said, "We had a great time." So
It was. I mean, that was such a fun conversation. I had forgotten how funny it was. Maybe it's because it was so late on Friday night that I just kind of blanked it out.
Yep. It was a lot of fun.
It was a great time.
Anyway, thank you for all of those comments. We do want to hear from you, our listeners. You are very important to us. We need to know what you like and what you don't like, and you can comment on the show or the articles on our website. And remember, when you comment either on the website or on YouTube or on Facebook, please play nice. We don't want to have to edit or delete your feedback.
And that's not to say that people haven't been. Most recently, Everybody has been playing
Absolutely.
nicely, and we appreciate it.
We just say that because we
have to.
In the past, somebody's been mean.
So we have to bring it up every time, so we're sorry. Forgive us.
You can comment on our YouTube episodes, tggeeks.com, where you can get a shout-out on the episode, or you can call our listener feedback line, and we'll play your comment on air. 469-TG-Geeks. That is 469-844-3357.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, They're two gay guys, and they're geeks. Is that okay?
We just have a couple of items that we want to talk about.
Yeah, being that we're now in summer hiatus, this kind of gave us a chance to play catch up on some shows that we have not been able to watch. And so we did so with two. We mainlined two shows, and we want to talk about them. The first one was the sci-fi show Magicians.
Yeah. was.
Okay, and the
yeah.
next show.
And the next show, yeah. No, Magicians. It was good. There were some problems.
Well, it what makes it good is I think it initially had a very interesting premise.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the whole Harry Potter idea again,
Right.
but given a bit of a new spin. And the spin, I'm not going to deny it. I thought the spin was kind of interesting. And,
Yeah.
How people that have any kind of magical ability or any kind of tendency to magic would then be admitted into this school for higher learning, like a college or something. So, and I thought it was a fascinating idea, but the way they played out the big overarching threat was not very well done. And let's talk about the dialogue.
Well, there was a lot of angst in the show, which I suppose because it was a book is sort of written for children, but I did not care for the end of this season at all. And that's just my personal opinion. I would have done something else.
It should not have been. That would not have made for. I mean, it was a season finale, and it shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
No, it needed one more episode to kind of. So let's jump to Lucifer then, because this kind of plays into this. Because we had the discussion, we watched these almost on the same night.
Yeah. Well, let's finish up with Magicians, and then the other part that will probably not pick up the next season with Magicians unless, number one, the season finale, and number two, I understood about a third of what they said. It was mic'd incorrectly.
A lot of mumbling.
And a lot of mushmouth. And it was very, very hard to follow. I was interested and intrigued by the plot and to see where it went. So I stuck it out. Otherwise, if I'd been just kind of remotely interested, I would have given it up a third of the way through.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
unless they fix that and they learn to enunciate, or they fix the miking, or both, I doubt we're going to watch the second season.
And I'm far more forgiving when it comes to these kinds of things. If out of the two of us, I'd be the one that'd be more inclined to come back for a season 2, and I have no desire. And what really ruined it for me was the finale. It was the worst finale. I
really wanted to like this series.
I wanted to as well. The season finale was absolutely dreadful because, the tendency now in television shows is we don't really end with a big major cliffhanger. That kind of went out with the 80s. The big cliffhanger now they're going for smaller cliffhangers. Especially with a series or season long story arc, they usually resolve it and then give you a little minor cliffhanger that serves as the jumping off point for season 2. And instead, we just got this bizarre ending, which is more like a stop. I mean, it felt like they just stopped the cameras, or they ran out of film and they couldn't go any further, and thought, okay, well, we'll just leave it at that. And it made for the worst season finale, which is why we want to talk about this other TV show that we really, really enjoyed.
Yes. We had watched 2 episodes.
2 episodes.
We kind of dropped it because just too many other things going on. But Lucifer, and we picked up and we mainlined the whole thing, and it was like, oh my God, this show is incredible. We knew we wanted to watch it by the first 2 episodes, or by the first episode.
By like 10 minutes into the first episode, you're already intrigued with the character Lucifer himself and the characters that surround him as well.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a very well cast TV show. The characters are extremely well written. Each one of them is very compelling. They all have layers to them.
Yep.
And of course, obviously the most interesting one of them all is Lucifer himself. Given, yes, he is the Prince of Darkness, Satan, however you want to refer to it, who now has decided to run away from his job and
take a vacation.
He's
on Earth.
Well,
in Los Angeles.
It's like an extremely protracted sabbatical.
Yeah. And it really is fascinating. I love the humor and, the whole dynamic between all of the characters.
But then they did a really great thing where they took the the arc was something I never saw coming. I was completely surprised with where that was going to head. It's with and who the big bad guy was going to be for the show.
Right.
I didn't see that coming. They pulled that one out of left field. It was so brilliantly done, and yet they were able to give us the most amazing resolution that not only played on the strengths of the characters, but also did some phenomenal universe building.
Yeah.
In ways that I was hoping for, and they delivered, and then dropped I wouldn't say a huge bombshell, but it's a pretty good one as your jumping off point for next year.
Absolutely.
And all I'm simply going to say, I just have two words to kind of tease that. Trisha Helford.
Yep.
I'll leave it at that.
It's going to be exciting. I can't wait for next season.
I cannot wait, but that was a great TV show, and hats off. Yeah, Magicians, I doubt we may watch the first episode just to see if they've improved anything, but if they haven't, that's it. It's over. It's done. But Lucifer, yeah, we're definitely coming back to that.
Pick that up. Yep. All right. As always, we have a few follow-up items. Just say something about our calendar. If there is something that you think needs to be on our calendar, a con or a film festival, let us know. And as you know by now, we have become huge supporters of independent creators, not just film, but any kind of creative outlet that is of an independent nature.
As we briefly talked about, or suggested a little bit with our interview with Michael.
Yep. He's independent studio. And we know that we're always pushing something, but this is where we've become something passionate, that we have become passionate about independent creators.
Yes, Yoda?
Yes. We just asked to take a look at any of the independent creators that we talk about, and you might discover that there's something that you want to be a part of. And generally it doesn't always take much, usually as little as $5.
Yeah, if a lot of people contribute $5, think about how much that would do.
Exactly. So please consider supporting independent creators. And speaking of, we want to tell you about Horrible Imaginings Film Festival in San Diego, being held September 7th through the 12th at the Museum of Photographic Arts in lovely Balboa Park. This is a film festival not to be missed, and we're sponsoring the LGBT block of films on Saturday afternoon.
Yes.
Wednesday through Friday is evening only, and Saturday and Sunday are all day. Tickets are available at hifilmfest.com. We will also have an interview with Miguel, who is the director of Horrible Imaginings, coming up soon. Phoenix Comic-Con has announced FanFest 16, October 22nd and 23rd, downtown Phoenix at the Convention Center. More information on their website, phoenixcomiccon.com. And for people that are year-round Halloween fans, Keen Halloween is returning to Phoenix September 23rd and 24th at the Convention Center. You can find out more information at keenhalloween.com.
We have to give a special shout-out, as always, to the Doctor Who Fancast Guide, because they continually recirculate our stories. And we love that, because we want more people to read what it is that we're putting out there. And how can you read the Doctor Who Fancast Guide, you ask? Well, I have an answer for that. And now all you have to do is go to Twitter, because they are Doctor Who Talking Who on Twitter. And the URL, not the URL, but the Twitter handle is @TalkingWho. Also, Brian Weber, he has the Arkle Times Post Dispatch News. And they also, that also runs our shows, listen to me, our stories, and we greatly appreciate that. You can find Arkle on Twitter. He is Social Justice Scald, and his Twitter handle is @Arkle, ARKLE. And he also has a presence on Tumblr with the incorrect Star Trek Voyager quotes. It's something that he's very proud of, and I don't blame him, because there's a lot there. But it's very amusing. Just don't let anybody that employs you kind of see what you're doing when you're looking at it.
Yeah. We want to give a shout out to The Lookie Show. The twins, Sasha and Dagmar, are on Twitter @Lookie Show, and you can catch their show on YouTube as Lookie Show. If you like old movies and good reviews in kind of a campy format, this is the show for you.
And we have to give, once again, great props to my favorite Facebook group. It is The Gay Geek, because they have amazing content there. It's what I love about there's such awesome contribution from some amazing people there, and it's a wonderful group, very friendly, fascinating discussion. It's all very, very geeky, great fun, and they allow us to share our stories there and our episodes there, and that is compliments of their grand poobah, Jeremiah Reeves. Thank you, Jeremiah. You are an awesome gentleman for allowing us to post our episodes in the most awesome Facebook group out there, and the URL is facebook.com/groups/thegaygeek.
Thank you, Jeremiah. We also want to give a big thank you, a huge thank you in capital letters, all screaming at you, in quotes, flashing neon, thank you to whoever nominated us for a Parsec Award. Parsec Awards were started a number of years ago for podcasts that are speculative fiction, and the awards are awarded at DragonCon. For more information, check out parsecawards.com. Once again, thank you. And we want to remind you to occasionally click on the Amazon ads that we have. It doesn't cost anything. It just tells Amazon that we're getting traffic. However, if you do want to buy something from Amazon, please use one of our search ads. We kind of get a little kickback from them. So thank you for your consideration. And lastly, please rate us on iTunes.
Yes, please, please, please. Because
even if you don't listen on iTunes?
Lie. No, no. What I mean to say is that the more people that rate us on iTunes, it will actually cause any searches for any kind of podcast that maybe we fall in line with to kind of rise to the top. So the more people that review us, the easier it is for people to find us.
Yeah, so even if you don't listen, go to iTunes and rate us if you like the podcast. So that's it for the follow-up items. Next time, well, we don't know.
Well,
we might
have an interview.
We might have an interview.
I'm not sure yet. You have to wait and see.
We have lots of stuff in the pipeline, stuff happening. So stay tuned. Stay tuned, everyone. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We will have several links on the page. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I am Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. I bid you peace.
Cheers.